Hello, my name is Gina Chernoff, and welcome to my novel Haywire34. Haywire34 was an unusual experience for me as the author, because at the time of writing it, I had no intention of writing a book, and because of this, I had no story in mind. Yet, I believed and showed up at my laptop each day. One day, I may tell the backstory of why I did show up, but until then, the truth is that I showed up. And each day, for the short amount of time that I was able to show up, although I never knew what I was going to write, the story not only began itself, but it unveiled itself day after day for 34 days in 34 chapters, hence the 34 in the title. Freely I received the story of Haywire34, so freely I am giving it to you in chunks of several chapters at a time every week in this audio version. All I ask of you is to please press the subscribe button and return each week and listen to and enjoy this adventure of my lively group of Haywire34 friends. Who knows, you may grow to like them as much as I do, even the most complex and trying of them. Formed by their past, this group of culturally diverse friends battle to overcome the impact of their misguided choices. Haywire34 follows their journey as life piles on complications. Do they have what it will take to survive the storms of life united as a group? We'll find out when we get to the end. Haywire34 is a story that will resonate with all of us, regardless of our circumstances, because the lives of the characters are touched by real-life issues that we may have seen, heard about, or may even be living through ourselves. They react to them like real people do because to me they are real people, flawed and magnificent like you and I. So please come on this journey with me until the end. Although I'm the author, when I read the book back, certain questions came to mind regarding myself and what I would do in some of the situations presented in the book. At the end of each batch of chapters, I'll be asking you some of those questions, and I'd really value reading your answers in the comments section. Don't worry, unless you particularly make your identity known, all comments are anonymous. As well as your answers to the questions, I would really appreciate other comments you may like to make, but please be respectful, kind and thoughtful when you leave your comments in general, or when you reply to other people's comments. There's nothing big or brave about being unkind and spiteful. I look forward to getting to know you better through your answers and comments, and like I intend to do, please share the link to the readings with your friends and acquaintances and have conversations about the questions posed. It'll be interesting finding out if we really do know the people we call our friends. Thank you very much in advance for coming on this journey with me. I really, really do appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much. Next comes chapters 1 and 2. Thank you. Chapter 1. As Sarah stepped into the bustling restaurant, her blue-rinsed hair glistened under the soft lighting, revealing a daring side that few had ever seen. She nervously ran her fingers through her damp locks, still unsure about the bold change, but feeling a twinge of excitement nonetheless. Her gaze swept across the room, searching for familiar faces. The anticipation of her friends' reactions to her new hair made her heart race, but it was Rupert, her husband's opinion, that truly mattered. His discerning eye would be the ultimate test, determining whether she'd be brave enough to debut her new look at her next client meeting. Suddenly, a warm hand touched her shoulder. Sarah turned to see Penny, grinning widely, her eyes focused on Sarah's vibrant hair. "You did it!" Penny exclaimed, her delight unmistakable. "It's fantastic! I love it!" Sarah smiled. Well, we'll see if I survive the night before we declare victory," she replied. Just then Gretchen arrived, her eyes widening at the sight of Sarah's hair. "I can't believe you actually went through with it," she said, a mixture of surprise and admiration in her tone. "You look great." "Do you really think so?" Sarah asked her. Gretchen was a lawyer and quite conservative, like Sarah's partners in the accounting firm. "Penny was right, it does suit you," came the reply, "but I wouldn't have the guts to do it." "Is it too much?" Sarah asked Gretchen nervously. "It's a bold move," Gretchen expounded. "Oh, gosh, I wonder what they'll say at work," Sarah frowned. "What can they say?" Penny countered. "You're a partner in the firm, for heaven's sake." "Exactly," Sarah squirmed. "I'm a 51-year-old accountant. We don't dye our hair blue." "You do now," Penny beamed. "I can't believe you let Penny talk you into it," Gretchen said, beginning to laugh. Sarah eyed her. "You're laughing. I look ridiculous, don't I?" "No!" Gretchen declared. It really suits you. I'm just shocked that you actually went through with it. Temporary insanity, Sarah retorted, to the amusement of her friends. Well, that's what my clients would probably think anyway. Your table is ready, a voice cut in. It was the maitre d'. This way, please. As the three friends followed him, Sarah began to fidget with her bag strap, her gaze darting from one diner to another. I bet they think I look ridiculous, she whispered to Penny, who was behind her. But you don't, Penny rebuffed. No, look at the lady in green over there, Sarah replied. She definitely thinks I'm mutton dressed as lamb. Penny leaned forward. Will you stop it? She scolded quietly. You look amazing, she said, and then glancing back at Gretchen, she asked, Doesn't she look amazing? Gretchen nodded in agreement. Seriously, Sarah, like I said before, it really suits you. Gretchen's words seemed to embolden Sarah, because suddenly straightening up, she began to strut. That's my girl, Penny commended. Shake your money maker. Gretchen flushed crimson. Will you both behave? She remonstrated. Too late, I've gone blue, Sarah chuckled, casting a mischievous glance back at Gretchen. She added, I feel like I should break out in song as I walk. Don't you bloody dare, Gretchen cringed. On arrival at their table, Sarah surveyed the restaurant. You know what, she told her friends, I'm glad I'm the only one in here with blue hair. I'm tired of fitting in. It's time I began to swim against the tide. At the mention of swimming against the tide, Gretchen froze. What's wrong with being normal? She asked Sarah. Nothing. I'm just tired of being predictable, that's all. Why? It's restrictive. Oh, God, Gretchen sighed. You're beginning to sound like my parents. As the only child of Fabrice and Maisie, two bohemian artists, who managed to carve out a comfortable life for themselves, Gretchen was no stranger to free-spiritedness. Her parents were the epitome of swimming against the tide. I love your parents, Penny cut in. I'd love to be like them when I'm their age. Me too, Sarah admitted. Not necessarily in what they do, but their spirit, their courage to unapologetically just be. To be what, though? That is the issue, Gretchen hit back. My parents are just controversial for the sake of it. No, Sarah rejected. I see them as daring to be true to themselves regardless of outside opinion. Ah, all right. So you're going to suddenly stop caring what people think, eh, Sarah? Gretchen sneered. Maybe not immediately, Sarah conceded, but I'm going to give it a try, follow my heart a bit more, and hopefully, with enough practice, I'll stop caring what others think, including you, my darling Gretchen. My parents have managed it, so why can't I? Sarah, your parents are normal, Gretchen scoffed. That's my point exactly. There's nothing abnormal about following your heart a bit more. They've lived unapologetically without hurting anyone, and they're happy. I wish I could say the same about my parents, Gretchen interjected. They never try to understand or accept that I'm not like them. I'm incapable of flying by the seat of my pants. I need order. As she spoke, memories of her childhood flooded her mind. Oh, the chaos, Gretchen recalled silently, remembering the feeling of constant panic in which she lived as a child. Why couldn't my parents just have been like normal people, like other people's parents? She mused silently. Unpredictability is frightening for a child, you know, Gretchen blurted out suddenly. Yes, probably, but I'm neither a child nor a parent, so what's the problem? Sarah asked Gretchen. What about Rupert? How does he fit into this newfound you? We're not talking about me running naked in the streets, Gretch, Sarah laughed. You don't have to run naked to bring chaos into the lives of those around you, Gretchen said, her mind going to Mick, her husband. All his recent business ideas have been off script and they've got him nowhere, Gretchen surmised silently. Why can't people like you and Mick just stick to the script of your lives? Sarah flinched at her words. Ready to order? The waiter's voice cut in. Gretchen and Sarah were now engrossed in their debate and didn't respond. Not yet, Penny whispered, answering for the group. But in the meantime, please, may we have a bottle of this? She said, pointing to the house champagne on the wine list, and a bottle of sparkling water too. Thank you. As the waiter was walking away, Penny turned her thoughts to Gretchen. Gretchen's disposition leaned towards order and structure. She found solace in organisation, feeling a deep-seated need to maintain control in any environment that she perceived as chaotic. Is it the blue hair that you find chaotic, or is it an accountant with blue hair that you find chaotic? Penny interrupted the back and forth between her friends. Sarah is not a blue hair person. She's an accountant, for God's sake. Ah, so it's an accountant with blue hair that's your issue. No, Gretchen replied. If you were an accountant, Penny, and you had blue hair, I'd get it. But Sarah? I'm not quite sure how to take that, Penny riposted. Me neither, Sarah agreed. She turned to Gretchen. You saying I'm boring? I'm saying you're Sarah Bainbridge. And that, Penny, is a lawyer's response. Instead of a yes or no, she says, "You're Sarah Bainbridge." Who is Sarah Bainbridge to you, Gretch? You are, Gretchen smiled. Well, you were before the blue hair. Penny began to laugh. So who is she now? She asked. Penny Bainbridge, Gretchen responded. You know what? Sarah piped up. Before, I was in two minds about keeping my hair like this. Now I'm certain. The colour stays. Yay! Thanks, Gretch, Penny cried and gave Sarah a playful wink. Just then the waiter returned with the drinks order. As he filled their glasses, Gretchen inhaled deeply, as if savouring the presence of her friends. Here's to us, she toasted, raising her filled flute aloft. We're all so different, but I wouldn't change that for the world. Yes, you would, Penny sniggered. You'd give Sarah back her normal hair colour for starters. But no matters, vive la différence. And to swimming against the tide, Sarah added. Gretchen began to laugh. Life is funny, she began. All my life I've railed against my parents because they're unpredictable. And here I am, sat with the two of you, my best friends, and you're just as bad, if not worse than they are. How did that happen? God's sense of humour, perhaps? Penny shrugged. Suddenly serious and thoughtful, Gretchen turned to her. Would you call my life stagnant? Yes, Sarah replied off the bat. Does it feel stagnant to you? Penny asked Gretchen. A part of me envies you and Sarah, came the unexpected reply. Aha, the truth cometh, Sarah quipped. But not in a jealous way, Gretchen explained. Penny, you always seem prepared for life, no matter what it throws at you. Not true, Penny interrupted. I wasn't prepared for my parents' sudden death in the accident. No one could ever be prepared for such, Sarah sympathized, stroking Penny's arm. But you carried on regardless, Gretchen resumed. What else was I supposed to do? I think I'd have died, Sarah remarked. That's what I used to think about losing one parent, and then I lost them both, and at the same time, and voila, I'm still here, aren't I? Penny laughed wryly. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Gretchen exclaimed. You always have that second wind. It's the beans, Penny whispered playfully to Sarah's amusement. No, but seriously, Pen, Gretchen said. Look at what you and Hector have been going through with pain issues. First him and now you. And what's your reaction? Wednesday Club! Sarah cheered, raising her glass. Wednesday Club, Gretchen repeated. You're in agony, I can tell, but you're not letting it stop you. It's called writing your own narrative, Penny proffered. I want to start writing my own narrative, Gretchen confessed quietly. But that's all you ever do, Sarah accosted. Gretchen eyed her sadly, and falling silent, she absent-mindedly began to trace her finger round the rim of her glass, as if in deep thought. Come on, who is he? Penny interrupted. Gretchen snapped out of her reverie, visibly startled by her friend's words. Who's who? She blushed. The owner of the car that dropped you off. What car? Yes, what car? Sarah echoed with great interest. I came by cab, Gretchen fibbed. Penny narrowed her eyes, a hint of suspicion lingering in her gaze. Gretchen had arrived straight after her, and she'd seen the car that brought Gretchen. It was not a cab, and Gretchen had come out from the front seat. Penny knew Gretchen well enough to sense that she was hiding something. She looked across at Gretchen, who was now clearly avoiding her gaze. Penny's interest was piqued. Who was the man, and what's the story with him and Gretchen, she wondered, but decided to let it go for now. Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes locked on Gretchen's. She's hiding something, Sarah noted silently. I'll let it ride, she decided, but no. Are you having an affair? Sarah demanded. Sarah! Penny gasped, incredulous. It's the blue hair, she quipped with a wink. Well, are you Gretch? Sarah persisted. Of course not, Gretchen snapped. Penny and Sarah exchanged glances as if to say, to be continued. Picking up her menu, Gretchen began to study it intently. After a minute, she glanced up. Are we getting things to share, or are we each ordering for ourselves? Let's share, Gretchen, Sarah answered, emphasizing the word share. Gretchen cleared her throat, feigning ignorance. So, does that mean we'll be sharing everything? Sarah raised an eyebrow, a playful smile tugging at her lips. Yes, Gretchen, everything. Even dessert? Especially dessert, Sarah emphasized. Penny chuckled, her eyes darting between her friends. I draw the line at my dessert, Gretchen responded. Penny couldn't bear it any longer. Enough already, she cried. Just tell us, who is he and what is going on between you? Gretchen's cheeks flushed bright red, her gaze scanning Sarah and Penny. She fidgeted with her napkin, her mind racing as she tried to formulate a response. Come on, Gretch, Sarah urged, her curiosity mounting. You can't just leave us hanging like that. Who's the mystery man? Taking a deep breath, Gretchen looked away. Okay, fine. There is something I need to tell you both. Penny leaned forward expectantly. We're all ears. Well, Gretchen began, I've been thinking about opening my own bakery. Sarah looked confused. A bakery? I was afraid you'd think I was crazy, Gretchen admitted, her gaze fixed on the table. I mean, it's a huge risk, and I know I'll have to put in a lot of work, but it's something I've always wanted to do. Penny looked unconvinced. What's a bakery got to do with the mystery man? He's actually a potential business partner for the bakery. Sarah's eyes widened, a mixture of surprise and curiosity etched on her face. A business partner? His name is Daniel, and he's a pastry chef with years of experience. We've been discussing the possibility of joining forces. I bet you have, Sarah interrupted, her voice loaded with suspicion. To open a bakery, Gretchen insisted. How did you meet? Penny asked. Through a work friend. Has Mick met him? No. No? Sarah echoed. But he does know about the bakery, doesn't he? Not yet. Sarah leaned forward and lowered her voice. Why not? Gretchen looked exasperated. It's complicated, she snapped. Mick and I only communicate about kids and bills these days. Her friends remained silent. It's all right for the two of you, Gretchen hissed. You don't have kids to pay for and a husband that's out of work. Everything is on me. It's killing me. But you earn a fortune, Gretch, Penny reminded her. It's not like you're a single mother in a low-paid job. That's not the point, Gretchen snapped. I'm tired. Okay, I hear you, Penny said in a supportive tone. But is this the best way forward? Mick just doesn't understand. It's all right for him sitting at home and chasing his pipe dreams on my money. Gretchen paused. It's exhausting carrying everyone. Sarah reached forward and took her hands. I can imagine. So why don't you talk to Mick about how you're feeling? Tell him about your ideas. Maybe it's something you can do together. You know, Team Hanson and all that. Definitely not, Gretchen recoiled. Mick and I are very different. It wouldn't work. Then at least talk to him, Penny implored. Let him know how you're feeling, and also use the opportunity to find out how he's feeling. I tried once, but he doesn't understand. Try again? Ignoring the suggestion, Gretchen continued. Daniel went through the same thing with his ex-wife until their marriage finally broke up, and he followed his dreams. Are you leaving Mick? Sarah asked. Of course not, Gretchen laughed nervously. I love Mick. But, Penny interposed. But, Gretchen echoed softly and then fell silent. Grimacing in pain from her back, Penny straightened up in her seat. You're thinking of leaving Mick, aren't you? She opined. Of course not, came the unconvincing reply. Sarah too sat up. She looked unsure as to what to believe. Ready to order? The waiter's voice cut in. Gretchen's revelations had wiped the thought of sharing from all their minds. The three women each ordered their own plate of food. As the waiter retired from their table, the air hung pregnant with the awkwardness of their last conversation, to which no one knew how to return. After a tense few seconds that felt like eons to the friends, Penny piped up. I'm writing a novel. No way! Sarah cried. Wow! About what? Gretchen asked excitedly. Us. Us? The other two chorused. Sarah sounded more thrilled than Gretchen. Only kidding. Oh, Gretchen relaxed. You'd make a good writer, though. We'll see. Gretchen looked perplexed. But you said you were joking. Yes, about the topic. Oh, good. Oh, good that it's not about us, or oh, good that she's writing a novel? Both, Gretchen admitted with a laugh. I'd love to read a novel by Penny, but I wouldn't like to read about how she sees me. That's a point, Sarah agreed. But it would be interesting to get to see ourselves through Penny's perspective. Gretchen spied Penny smiling. Look at that smile, she told Sarah. I know what it's saying, and I definitely don't want others to know what it's saying. It's best if we come up with a plot for her, Gretchen determined. As her friends imagined aloud the storylines that came to mind, Penny excused herself and went to the ladies. On her return to the table, Penny looked like something was troubling her. What's up? Sarah asked. Nothing, came the pensive reply. Sure? Gretchen probed. Yep, Penny feigned nonchalance. I was thinking through some ideas for the novel. Her friends relaxed. Oh, we've got loads of ideas for you, haven't we, Gretchen? Sarah enthused. Great, Penny replied, equally enthusiastic. After a moment, she admitted. I just saw Rupert. Rupert who? Sarah asked. Your Rupert. My Rupert? Sarah exclaimed. That's impossible. He's not back from Switzerland until Friday. She paused. What was the person wearing? Jeans and a T-shirt. Well, that's hardly specific, Gretchen rebuffed. It's not, is it? Penny agreed. But that's what the man was wearing. Was the person alone? Sarah wondered. I couldn't see, Penny fibbed. You know my eyesight, she deflected with a laugh. Gretchen seemed to agree, even though there had never been any question about Penny's eyesight. With that, the three friends returned to their conversation about the novel, and Penny never disclosed that she was almost certain that it was Rupert that she had seen, and that he was with a woman. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Groaning, Sarah rolled over in her bed, the sunlight streaming through her window doing nothing to alleviate her throbbing head. She couldn't help but smile ruefully at the irony. Yet again, their promise to take it easy on the drinks had been tossed aside the moment they were together. As she fumbled to find the paracetamol in her bedside drawer, memories from the last bar to which they'd gone began to surface. Ugh, Sarah grunted aloud, remembering the raucous end to the night. We really shouldn't have had that last bottle, she concluded silently. Paracetamol in hand, Sarah slowly made her way into the kitchen, where she took the tablets and brewed herself a strong cup of coffee. The kitchen reflected her love for both cooking and simplicity. Bright and airy, with white walls and large windows that let in plenty of natural light, it resembled the kitchens in Good Housekeeping magazine. An expansive island with a sleek marble countertop dominated the centre of the room, providing ample space for meal preparation and casual dining. A collection of well-loved cookbooks sat neatly on a corner shelf, their pages filled with dog-eared recipes and handwritten notes. Copper pots and pans hung from an overhead rack above the island, while an array of herbs and spices in glass jars were organized in a custom-built cabinet, their colorful contents adding a subtle vibrancy to the room. Avoiding the light and with a cup of coffee in hand, Sarah headed to the breakfast nook at the far end of the kitchen. There she sat on the built-in bench seating and relaxed under the shadow which the minimalist chandelier overhead cast over the table. This was her favorite spot in her favorite room. Sarah took a sip of her coffee, savoring the warmth as she reflected on the previous night's revelations. Penny's potential foray into writing a book had made for exciting conversation, as had Gretchen's unexpected bakery dreams with Daniel. Sarah frowned, thinking about Mick and Gretchen's situation. Not good. Suddenly, Penny's passing comment about possibly having seen Rupert through the restaurant window came to mind. Oh, shit, Sarah muttered to herself, realizing that she had forgotten to call him the night before. Quickly retrieving her phone from the pocket of her floral dressing gown, she checked for any missed calls. While there were none, a host of WhatsApp messages awaited her attention. Scrolling through the unread messages, Sarah felt a pang of guilt for not sticking to their usual routine of calling Rupert before going out. Their hectic schedules often made it hard to speak during the day. Rupert's demanding career as the head of structured finance at Credit Suisse often took him away from home. Based in Zurich from Monday to Thursday, he would return to the London office early Friday mornings. Sarah continued scrolling through her messages. Spotting one from her mother, she quickly replied to confirm that she and Rupert would be driving down to Windlesham for the weekend. With that taken care of, she made a WhatsApp call to Rupert to remind him. When the call failed to connect, Sarah dialed his regular mobile number, only to have it ring 3 times before disconnecting. Assuming Rupert was likely in a meeting, Sarah turned her attention to her growling stomach. What can I eat? She wondered aloud, as she debated whether she could bear breakfast after their indulgent evening. A WhatsApp message from Penny popped up on her screen. Great night last night, but totally crippled with pain now. Laugh out loud, it read. Sarah smiled. The Wednesday Club, born from Penny's desire to reclaim control over her life despite her chronic pain, had become a cherished tradition for the 3 friends. Once a month they would get together, push their troubles aside, and embrace the moment, even if it meant getting a little carried away with the drinks. Ah! Sarah winced with pain. Nursing her coffee, she vowed once again to be more mindful of her drinking at their next gathering, even though she knew that with the 3 of them together, the lure of the bubbly would be too strong to resist. Sarah's phone began to ring. It was Penny. She declined the call with a message stating, I'll call you back shortly. She wanted to try Rupert again. The WhatsApp call still wasn't going through, and the regular line was now going straight to voicemail. He's definitely in a meeting, she concluded, and dialed Penny. Bonjour, Penny answered with a gruff tone. Sarah smiled. You sound like I feel. Never again, Penny whimpered. My pains have pains, and my head. Never again, she repeated. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do any work today, Sarah joined in. Oh, no, she cried. What? Today's the Zoom lesson with the kids from the school in Tottenham, she explained. During the COVID-19 lockdown, Sarah and Rupert took it upon themselves to purchase 100 laptops online, generously donating them to the students of a comprehensive school in Tottenham to help with their remote lessons. In addition to this, Sarah had committed herself to providing free maths tuition via Zoom for the GCSE students to better prepare them for their exams. Initially intended as a temporary solution for that particular year, Sarah found joy in her newfound role as a virtual tutor and decided to continue offering her services indefinitely. To her surprise, the number of students signing up for her tutoring sessions continued to grow, as did her sense of responsibility to them. The tutorial was usually on a Tuesday evening, but because she had been working on a major audit, she'd changed it to Thursday. "I haven't prepared anything," she confessed to Penny before ending the call. "I've got to go, sorry. We'll chat later tonight when we go to Sainsbury's," and she hung up. Meanwhile, on Duke's Avenue, another part of Muswell Hill, as Gretchen prepared for work, she found herself reflecting on the previous night's events with a mild hangover. She couldn't help but feel irritated by her unintended divulgence of information regarding her bakery ambitions, Mick's struggles and her connection with Daniel. Although she had openly shared her frustrations about Mick's inability to find direction after his conference business had folded shortly after the lockdown, discussing her growing attraction and partnership with Daniel had not been part of her plan. Despite nothing more physical happening between Gretchen and Daniel apart from a shared kiss, their collaboration had ignited a spark within her. Gretchen smiled as Daniel's energy and drive came to mind. "Yes," she admitted silently, "I'd rather that any day over Mick's stagnation over the past 3 years. He's stuck in his cycle of planning and learning," Gretchen mused silently. "Oh, Gretchen," she groaned at her reflection in the bathroom mirror as she put on her makeup. "What are you going to do?" she asked herself as she cogitated the complicated situation in which she found herself. Her attraction to Daniel, fueled by their shared vision and chemistry, left her questioning her relationship with Mick and what the future might hold. As she finished touching up her makeup, Gretchen was irked by the niggling realization that the coming months would bring challenges and decisions that she couldn't ignore. Returning to the bedroom, Gretchen sneaked a glance at Mick as he hunched over his laptop, engrossed in what she assumed to be yet another business plan. "He's trying," she pondered, "but it's not enough. Oh, Mick," Gretchen cried silently, her gaze softening as she surveyed his Nordic features. Emerald green eyes and shaggy greying blonde hair contrasted to her own jet-black hair, strong jawline and striking deep blue eyes. She couldn't imagine not loving him. Gretchen continued to smile as she looked around their bedroom, its decor reflecting her own taste rather than Mick's. It was painted a soft beige. A large king-size bed sat against the wall closest to the door. On it were laid crisp white linen and an assortment of decorative pillows. A cosy reading cranny sat in one corner, complete with a comfortable armchair and a small side table stacked with books. Walking to the dressing table that stood against another wall, its surface adorned with a collection of cherished trinkets and photographs, Gretchen searched for the earrings she'd worn on the night before. As she fastened her earrings, Gretchen watched Mick in the antique mirror that hung above the dressing table. At the same time, she noticed how the natural light that filtered in through the large windows bounced off the small stained glass lamps, which she'd strategically placed around the room, creating a kaleidoscope effect. Gretchen reflected on the fact that her preference extended throughout the house, with her touches dominating every room. Yet Mick had never complained, never expressed any discontent with their surroundings, even though it was his money that had bought the house. Gretchen smiled sadly, in the knowledge that, were she Mick, she would likely have struggled to adapt to a space that didn't reflect her own style and personality. "It's his house, but you wouldn't know it," Gretchen mused, her throat knotting with guilt. "Oh, Mick," she cried silently, casting him another glance. Mick, ever accommodating and content, unlike me, strong-willed and assertive, always needing to control. Lost in thought, Gretchen absent-mindedly ran a hand through her dark hair, the cool touch of her engagement ring against her skin serving as a stark reminder of the commitment she had made to Mick. Mrs. Hanson, Gretchen reminded herself with a heavy heart as she turned and left the room. At the same time, on Tetherdown, round the corner from Sarah's house, Penny hobbled from her kitchen to the sitting room in search of Hector, her body aching with each step. "Where's my poor husband?" she called out to him, recalling that he'd had a bad night, unable to sleep because of his chronic pain condition. As Penny made her way through the house, she felt a slight reprieve from the throbbing in her head, but her back and legs still seared with pain that felt like a current of electricity was being conducted from one through to the other. Days like these stirred conflicting emotions within her. while living with constant pain was debilitating. Pushing beyond her limits to do small things like go for walks, and her monthly outing with Gretchen and Sarah allowed her to feel alive and connected to the world beyond her pain threshold. However, there was always a big price to pay afterwards. And boy, am I paying it, she grumbled silently. There you are, Penny smiled, on eventually spying Hector through the open sitting room door. He was relaxing on the plump, burnt orange-coloured four-seater sofa, which sat invitingly in front of the hearth of the rustic brick fireplace. As was his way, Hector lay with his head resting on one of the colourful throw pillows, while the rest were piled precariously at his feet, like a higgledy-piggledy tower of many colours. Approaching the door, Penny felt a gentle warm breeze coming from the slightly open windows. It stirred the gauzy curtains, through which soft sunlight filtered, casting a gentle radiance on the honey-hued wooden flooring. The sitting-room was Hector's favourite room. He loved everything about it, from the well-loved rocking-chair in a corner to the antique sideboard that stood proudly against the wall, displaying an eclectic array of books, candles, and small potted plants. Entering the room, Penny made her way past the armchair. With her feet dragging more than usual, she tripped on the multicoloured woven rug that anchored the colours of the seating area. Thank God for this mantelpiece, Penny sighed as she steadied herself with it. Hector looked up, and they exchanged a silent, knowing look, acknowledging the unseen struggle that they shared. "Why do I do it, eh?" Penny asked Hector. "Do what? Why do I keep trying to pretend that I can live a normal life?" "The same reason that I do." "Which is?" Hector shrugged. "We're crazy people who fight pain in our own way." "Ah, that's the one. Thanks for reminding me," she smiled and kissed him lightly on the lips. "How are you doing?" Penny asked, as she tried to squash onto the sofa between him and the tower of cushions. "I'm alive," Hector quipped, leaning forward to his laptop that was on the floor. Reaching it, he clicked on it, and the barely audible Hebrew chant to which he was listening while doing his breathing exercises stopped. "Sorry for interrupting," Penny fibbed. She was bursting to talk to someone about her suspicions from last night. Even though it wouldn't be the same as gossiping with a female friend, Hector would have to do. He was all she had at hand. Hector took a few more deep breaths and faced his wife. "How was last night?" he asked. "Really lovely. I think Gretchen's having an affair." Hector looked visibly taken aback. "Shh!" he admonished her as if someone was in earshot. "His name is Daniel, and he's a pastry chef," she continued in the same tone. "He drove her to the restaurant. I saw them." "You saw them doing what?" "Nothing." "Then don't jump to conclusions," he scolded her. "He could be a friend of the family." "He's not. He's never met Mick." "How?" "She told us," Penny interrupted, anticipating Hector's question. "She's looking to open a high-end cake shop with him." "Well, she didn't say high-end, but knowing Gretchen, it'll be high-end. Daniel's divorced. According to Gretchen, he was in a similar situation with his ex as she is now with Mick, so he understands how she feels, unlike Mick. Daniel's a go-getter." "Did she tell you that?" "Mm-hmm," Penny nodded. Hector furrowed his brows with distaste. Mick was his friend, and this conversation was clearly making him uncomfortable. "Daniel makes her feel alive." Hector's mouth fell open. Penny chuckled. She didn't actually say that, but I knew that's what she meant. Hector put his finger to her lips. "Stop! This is all speculative." "I know, but I bet you any money that I'm right." Hector rolled his eyes playfully to his wife. "Go away," he told Penny. "I want to finish my meditation and then try to see if I can get some programming done." "You'll see," she insisted, as she headed out of the sitting room on her way back to the bedroom to take her second dose of meds before resting some more. End of chapter 2. So the journey has begun, and the plot has already started thickening. My question to you is about Penny, because I thought about this for myself also. If you were Penny, would you have told Sarah that you saw Rupert with another woman? If so, why would you tell her? And if not, why wouldn't you tell her? Still on the telling and not telling, why is it that Penny told Hector about Mick, Daniel and Gretchen, but she said absolutely nothing about Rupert and the other woman? Would you have, if you were Penny, would you have told him both stories? What would you do? I'd really love to know. And please, in the comments section. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you back again next week. And until then, have a fantastic week and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.